So when we were planning this event, I had already had the topic of magic in the mess planned. Wasn't really planning on how messy it would actually get over the course of 7 weeks. We were trying to decide if we were going to wait and do this event at a later date when we could all be together. But I think that what we all decided collectively was it made a lot more sense for us to just go through with this event because really now more than ever, we could all use some support in getting ourselves healthy and back on track. We have a lineup of fantastic people today, a couple of fabulous dietitians who are going to talk to you about how to feed your family during this pandemic, how to deal with picky kids. We have a couple of fantastic practitioners who are going to talk about how to create some normalcy in your life right now, how to balance, how to journal as a tool. And we have Daylin, who's amazing, who's going to go through yoga with us, and she's going to go through meditation. So we've really put together a great group of people who are here to support you in this difficult time. Like I talked about, some of you are really familiar with Zoom and others of you aren't. The way that we set up this event, each separate session has a registration to it. So if you haven't had a chance to, in order to go into the next link, you will click on the Zoom and you can register at that time. It only takes a minute. But just so you know, they're all separate Zoom sessions. So I tend to be a fairly positive person. And I found that that was pretty challenging for me over the course of the last 7 weeks or so. So what I've been trying to do, which I'm encouraging others to do, is to find some silver linings. I find that if I try to look for some silver linings every day, it's helpful for me to get through my day. And I think that if we look at things in a broader way, we can find some silver linings about everything that's been going on now. For example, I got to watch Tiger King. There was that. There's less traffic. Silver linings, it's snowing, so there can be more of you here today with us. We've had family time. How many of us are saying things like, gosh, I never get time to spend with my family? Well, look what you got. We've gotten lots more time to spend with our families. So I encourage you to try, as difficult as it is, to find some silver linings throughout the course of every day. I love Brene Brown, and I love this. This has really resonated with me. What we don't need in the midst of struggle is shame for being human. And most of the clients, patients that I've talked to, people that I've talked to in the last few weeks, I ask them, how are you? And then I ask, how are you really? And then people will start to talk about the things that they've been struggling with. And I find it's almost always followed by a but so many other people have it worse than I do, so I can't complain. And so I encourage you and anybody who's feeling that way to stop and really just honor where you are. Be okay with what you're feeling, because no matter what your struggle is, it's a struggle for you. So just honor that, and it's okay. No guilt and shame around how we feel. However, if you fall into a rut, don't furnish it. So what I mean by that is, I don't know how you guys did in the beginning of all of this. I didn't do very well. It was a struggle. And some people did great. They painted all their walls and they did all the projects. I did a lot of napping and watching Netflix. And when we go into a situation that's stressful, right, we go into that fight or flight and we get all this energy. So we know this. If we have a loved one that's sick, they're in the hospital, we build up all this energy, we take care of everything that needs to be taken care of. And then afterwards, we kind of crash, right? So a lot of us were in that crash for a few weeks. We're just tired and couldn't get out of our own ways. But the truth is, this isn't something that's ending this week. We're still in it. And so it's important that we start to pick ourselves back up, get ourselves into some routines, get back to prioritizing our health. so that we can do well through the rest of this, whatever changes may come. So I'm Victoria Kirby. This is my magic in the mess. This is my family. Obviously, this is a staged photo, but it's pretty accurate portrayal of what actually happens in our lives. That is my husband. We've been married for 3 years. And those are my 2 teenage daughters, 13 and 16. And of course, there's the cutest dog on the planet, Miller Kirby. I have been a family nurse practitioner for over 20 years. And over the last few years, I have been part of a practice called Nutrition in Motion. And I work with incredibly talented dietitians. And we put together lots of programs for people who are looking to make their lives healthier. And I love that. One of the things that I enjoy immensely about my job is helping especially women find balance, right? We're all juggling all the things. And in that process, it's a journey for me as well, because we're all in it. We're all trying to find that healthy balance. As part of my job, I've been very blessed to be asked to speak at various events like today. I love going into schools. So I've gone in and I've talked to elementary school kids, I've talked to middle school kids, I've talked to high schoolers, and I've taught adults. And it's funny because my PowerPoint presentations are always the same slides, same themes, because ultimately we're all needing to do the basic things to take care of ourselves. So I always ask people, when you look at your life, are you taking care of yourself the way you would take care of your kids or your spouse or your dog, your best friend? So I challenge you to ask yourself that question. Also, the way we speak to ourselves, right? When people come in and they're throwing out these self-deprecating things, I will say, would you ever speak that way to someone that you love? So I also challenge you to think about how you're speaking to yourself. That's a big part of how we treat ourselves. When I talk about health, so I only have 30 minutes to talk to you today. I could talk for hours. I love talking. And I could get into what vitamins you should take and micronutrients and macronutrients and all the stuff. But when I talk about health, I like looking at the big picture and I like keeping it simple. So my speech is the same to the elementary school kids, to the middle schoolers, high schoolers, and adults. There are just some basic things that we need to do, particularly at this time, to get back in charge of our health and to take care of ourselves like we would a friend. Simple, right? Hydration. By the time you are thirsty, you're dehydrated. So this is just a really simple thing that you can make sure, check off the box, that you're getting in enough water every day. Helps with your metabolism, helps with your digestion, helps with your energy, your immunity. So just think about that. Some of us have been hydrating a little bit too much with coffee and maybe some wine during this pandemic. So let's get back to our water. Half of our body weight in ounces a day. If you're drinking 8 ounces a day, just gradually work on it so you build yourself up to where you need to be. How relatable is this picture in the last 7 weeks of anybody's life? Okay. When we are scared, when we are stressed, when we're overwhelmed, when we're sad, when we're any of those things, we look for comfort. And a lot of us turn to things that make us feel numb. So we turn to food, alcohol, busyness sometimes, social media, things that kind of numb us out from what's going on. And the truth is that not many of us, when we're stressed out, are reaching for broccoli. So in this last 7 weeks, I feel like every time I've met with one of my patients, what they're saying is, it's like confession, right? Oh, I've been eating terribly. I've been eating all the things. So what I challenge you to do is not have shame around that. It's okay to let it go. But moving forward, We want to get back to a healthy way to nourish our bodies, okay? Because what we're reaching for a lot of times are the salty, the sweet, the things that are in a bag, they're crunchy. And we know this. We think they give us comfort, but they don't because we know how we feel, right? It's not about fitting in the bikini, folks. This is about how you feel because most people I'm talking to lately are like, I feel lousy, sick and tired. It's because of how we're fueling our bodies. So make a conscious effort to really get back to nourishing your body, getting away from the sugar. Because we know this, when we nourish our bodies, we have energy, we get better sleep, our immune system functions better. So find balance, right? When you're nourishing your body, are you getting good proteins? Lots of fruits and vegetables, healthy fats. Think about what's on your plate. This is a great anti-inflammatory food pyramid. So you guys can Google it. You can take a snapshot of this slide. You can come back to it. But this is it's very different, you'll notice, from our food pyramid. And this is just a healthier way to look at nourishing your body. It starts with the basics of hydration and nourishing yourself with a rainbow of good, healthy fruits and vegetables, getting in some good, healthy fats, right? We've been told for years that fats were unhealthy. Fats are healthy for our body when they're good quality fats. Getting good sources of protein and limiting the things that are crunchy, sweet, salty, and come in a bag. Those processed foods create inflammation in our body and they do not nourish you and they impact your immune system in a negative way. We run a lot of healthy eating programs out of Nutrition in Motion. One in particular is called the Right Way program. And a big part of this that we include in our individual sessions and in our classes is we talk about eating mindfully. So especially right now, when we tend to be stressed and overscheduled and we're doing all the things, we try to talk to people about slowing down, really just slowing down when you eat and just asking yourself, am I hungry? Or am I scared, stressed, worried, bored, right? I've heard a lot of bored. So another great way to really incorporate more health into your life overall is practicing eating mindfully, slowing down, not multitasking. Sleep. This has been a big challenge for people right now. I'm hearing that very regularly from people. And it's really because, again, we went into this period of acute stress. And even though that we may have settled a bit, we still have things that we're worried about, right? What are we going to do with our kids for the summer? Is my mom going to get sick? Like we worry about all these things, okay? And those extra worried thoughts get on a loop in our brain and make it more difficult to sleep. And if you toss on that we might not be doing the same level of exercise, we might be eating off, that's really going to impact our sleep. So do some basic sleep hygiene things, okay? Basic. Turn the electronics off at night. This is hard, I know, but getting away from those lights, letting your brain actually settle down, keeping a little journal by your bedside table. So if you have thoughts and you have all these things that you're worried about, get them out of your head, put them on paper, leave them there. Then your brain's like, oh, okay, she's thinking about this, she's got it, she's on it. Guided meditations for sleep. Go on YouTube. They're free and they're wonderful. And they talk you down, slow your thoughts, focus on your breathing, help with sleep. But definitely people are turning to things too, like I'm going to have a glass of wine. That will help me settle down. But what we know is that actually makes you have terrible sleep. So really work on basic sleep hygiene. And if you're having a real big struggle with sleep, you need to reach out to somebody. So reach out to your primary care, reach out to your dietitian, find somebody to help support you, get what you need so you can get restful sleep. So I don't know about anybody else. I've had a few moments like SpongeBob here in the last few weeks. I think we all have. And what we know is that we have a stress response in our bodies. And we need a stress response, right? So we can run away from things like murder hornets, because we needed murder hornets. Anyway, we need to have a stress response so we can run away from the murder hornets. The problem is we're not meant to stay up here in that fight or flight response. We're meant to come down here into rest and digest. And the truth is, even before this pandemic in our everyday lives, we spend way too much time up here. And so particularly now, we've spent way too much time up here. It's important that you incorporate some things that get you down here, that ground you and make you feel more rested and less stressed. So we're going to talk about a few of those things. Exercise. Some of you had a really great routine going before all of this happened, right? You had your days, you scheduled your times, you were going to the gym, you were doing your thing. When all this hit, so again, we went into that fight or flight, and then afterwards we came down with the crash. Some of us are really tired. You may not have had the gas in your tank to do it or the motivation, but now in the process of picking ourselves up and getting back into some normalcy and routines, it's super important that you incorporate some movement every day for you and for your families. So it may not look like a 60-minute HIIT class. That might not work for you right now. And if it does, that's wonderful. But a walk is okay. Riding your bike is okay. Getting outside is good. Just move your body. So what does exercise do for us? It's going to help you sleep. It's going to boost your immune system. It's going to help with your metabolism, right? So if you've eaten too many of those Cadbury eggs that are sitting around from Easter, you know what I'm talking about. Definitely, just, you know this, it gets you back into a good frame of mind and you sleep better. So really make sure that you're incorporating some movement into your day. When I did a talk in Bedford for about 700 middle schoolers, I asked the question, this was one of my slides, and I asked the question, how many of you feel like your life is overscheduled and that you're too busy and you feel overwhelmed? It was, I think every kid raised their hand, literally, of the 700 kids. So my next question to them was, how many of you feel like your parents are overscheduled? They're too busy and they are overwhelmed. And again, all those hands went up. So when I meet with people and I'm trying to help them find a really good place in their lives in terms of their health and wellness, I always ask about, their self-care activities. And I get a lot of, and I ask, what's on your to-do list? What's on your list of things that you have to take care of? And and it's amazing the huge lists of things that people have on their to do and how few things they have on the self-care. So I talk to them about how that has to shift. And the answer I get is no, I have to. Like, the world is going to come to an end if I'm not on these 75 committees and my kids aren't in 12 sports. Well, I think the pandemic has shown us that the world doesn't come to an end when you're not on 14 committees and your kids aren't in all the sports. So I hope that silver lining, this is a good time to kind of regroup and say, what about my life before this didn't really work for me? How can I better fit myself into my life so I'm taking care of myself like I would a friend? Meditation. We have lovely Dalen who's going to do a meditation for us at the end of this program. So I strongly encourage you to go on. I talk about meditation probably to the point that it's annoying when I meet with people. And when people hear the word meditation, I get a lot of pushback, like, oh, I've tried that once and I couldn't slow my brain down or stop thinking. Well, the goal of meditation isn't to stop thinking, really. It's to make it so that you don't get so attached to those thoughts and you can practice slowing down your busy brain. Diaphragmatic breathing, right? So when we're under stress, what are we doing? We're shallow breathing, okay? That's sending us even more into that fight or flight space. So good, slow diaphragmatic breathing, meditation in combo gets you out of that fight or fight. It's something you consciously do that gets you down into rest and digest. This doesn't have to be, well, I don't have time for that. This doesn't have to be that you go to a class or spend an hour. This can be 5 minutes of your day. Try adding 5 minutes first. See how it makes you feel. Try doing it twice a day for 5 minutes. They have apps for that. Headspace, Calm, Simple Habit is one of my favorites. Most of them are free, and you can upgrade if you choose to. But these are great things to have. They send you little reminders even. So you can do it on the go. You can do it when you're sitting in your car. You can do it when you're at lunch at work. But a very important, especially right now, to help us get back to feeling grounded and get us out of that fight or flight state. This is a slide that, again, pertains to everybody. Comparison is the thief of joy. So when all of this started, I had a friend who was, or several friends actually, people who were just seemed to be doing amazing. They were painting all the walls, they were emptying all their closets, they were baking bread, they were, their kids had color-coded charts, they were having dinner parties with their family with themes to them. And I was at home like, oh man, I'm watching the Tiger King. Like I have been in the same outfit for 3 days. And then I stopped myself, right? And said, I'm not going to compare myself. So all of us, I'm being okay with where I was. And all of us need to be okay with where we are. But in general life, right? We spend a lot of time on things like social media. So we see the person with the perfect hair, the perfect marriage. How do they get to afford to go on so many vacations a year? And how are her kids getting straight A's and they're perfect in sports and all these things? We do that. I encourage you to know that that is filtered. We don't see what's really going on. It's not real life. So I challenge you to really stay in your lane and find joy in your life. And just know that what we see is very filtered. And this is an important message for us as adults and super important to teach our kids. Yeah, I miss Chris Farley. So yeah, for the love of everything holy, wash your hands and turn off the news. So when I talk about having good, healthy things in your life, so nourishing your body, getting good sleep, boosting your immune system, doing all the good things, you also want to think about other things that we might be putting into our lives that aren't healthy for us. And I know that we all want to keep informed, but the truth is that we're almost too informed right now. So we're already worried about what's happening. And the more we spend time watching Facebook feuds and watching the news, we're just getting filled with more and more things that make us worried. So there's a lovely thing on Facebook. It's called Unfollow and Snooze. I don't know if you knew about that. And so if you have, you know what I'm talking about, those relatives who are just constantly negative or posting, conspiracy theories and fighting with people, whether they're wearing masks or not wearing masks, and you snooze them. They don't have to know. And guess what you see in your feed? Puppies and funny memes about gaining weight during quarantine. Okay. So I encourage you, really pay attention to what you're putting in right now. Spend a little bit of time off of the electronics. Another tool for overall health and wellness is asking for help. Ladies, we were given this message somewhere along the way that we had to be all the things for all the people all the time. Truth is, we don't. We are human and we have needs. So I encourage you to ask for help when you need it. When the pandemic started, I went into take care of my family mode. So I was working, making sure my kids had what they needed for school, and making sure everybody's mental health was okay in my home. But I was also finding myself like cooking 3 meals a day, picking up everybody's plates, like getting them water. And then I was like, why am I so tired? So I had one of those, family meetings. My family hates family meetings, but I have them. And I said, okay, everyone, I'm not a 1950s housewife and you are all capable and we all need to do this as a team. So ask for help, right? Ask for help in your life. Ask for help in your family, in your career, with your friends. It's not a weakness. We know this, right? We hear all the cheesy sayings that are so true about you can't pour from an empty cup. It's so true. So make sure that these very simple things, asking for help, slowing down, moving your body, nourishing yourself, meditating, put all those practices in place. And it's amazing how much more you have to give in every part of your life. I want to say thank you so much to the YWCA. I didn't realize until we were asked to do this that they've been around since 1920, which is amazing. And they do so much to service the women and children in our community. They have 24/7 crisis service. They have a shelter for women and children trying to escape domestic violence. Their mission is to eliminate racism and empower women. It doesn't get any better than that. So thank you to the YWCA for putting this on. And I do encourage everybody who is attending today to go to the site in which you registered, and there's a donate button. So I know the times are certainly tough for some people with their budgets. Every little bit helps. I want to also say Happy Mother's Day and Happy Nurses Week and Happy Teachers Week. Enjoy the snow and be well, everybody. Thank you for being here today.